Disclaimer: the information and education material contained herein is meant to promote the general understanding and dialogue of GAN's processing. Such information is not meant or intended to serve as a substitute for a healthcare professional's clinical training, experience, or judgment. For patients and individuals, such information is not to be a substitute for professional medical, therapeutic, or healthcare advice or counseling. For medical issues or concerns, including decisions about medications and other treatments, readers, viewers, listeners should always consult their physician or, in serious cases, seek immediate assistance from emergency personnel. Prescription information, procedures, and use of medical devices information should be undertaken only by properly trained and certified medical personnel. We specifically disclaim any warranties, express or implied, including implied warranties of merchantability or fitness for a particular purpose. Such information is provided, as is, and is believed to be accurate at the time of its publishing, but it is the viewer's job to evaluate the accuracy of any information found in this presentation. Every case presented is of their own experience, applied by themselves for themselves, and it applies to their case only. Every person experiencing health problems should seek professional medical advice and consult their course of treatment with a doctor. The processes of plasma balancing described herein are a natural process which supports the body but does not replace medical advice or therapies one is already subject to.
The revolutionary new Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit is due to be launched in June 2022, and in the same year is expected to fly passengers into space, to the moon and beyond for a day or even several days at a time. There is no need for the Flight Enhancement Spaceship unit to carry food or medicine, as it is equipped with the latest space technology for transportation, transmutation and deep space operation. This extraordinary breakthrough technology ushers in a new era of travel without the need of fuel, food, or medicine, even during the longest excursions into deep space. Each spaceship unit has a 4-passenger capacity for long or short duration flights and has the capability to travel between cities on Earth in a matter of seconds to minutes, depending on the distance and speed. This ability to traverse massive distance in such incredibly short time is not just a breakthrough for human transport, it also completely revolutionizes the transportation of goods and cargo and will rapidly overcome the need for one of our most polluting practices, namely marine shipping, as it finally breaks us free not only from the combustion of heavy diesel, but from the combustion of any fuel for propulsion in the future. The Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a new paradigm in space travel, space medicine, and space technology.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to the 431st Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, May 5th, 2022. This is a broadcast of the Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute Education Department and part of the public teachings in English. My name is Rick Crammond, and I'll be a host today. And once again, we welcome Mr. Mehran Keshe of the Keshe Foundation. Now, I'd like to start off with today's workshop with a video that Mr. Keshe asked me to play. It's from this Spanish group called How Does Plasma Science Work? And I understand it's dedicated to Angelo of the Spanish group. Mr. Keshe, I'm not sure if you want to say something now about that or perhaps after the video.
Good morning, good day to you as usual, wherever and whenever you listen to this series of Knowledge Seekers Keshe Foundation Spaceship Institute programs. This recording is in the memory of Angelo of the Spanish group. He's done a lot of work for years in the background, supported relentlessly the whole work of the foundation, and he's made many programs. And the Spanish group, in tribute to his work, have made this 3-4 minutes video, this program, which is actually appropriate for the teaching of today. And let's look at it, understand it, and in a way elevate it so bad. It brought so much knowledge to the Spanish group and so much dedication to the work and perfection, which is the way he used to work and promote the plasma technology and knowledge of the science of the new space technology. Would you like to go ahead and then talk?
Okay, thank you. Okay, we're back to our workshop here, and Mr. Keshe, are you ready to begin?
Yes. Thank you very much for playing that intro. And I'm sure a lot of us have seen a lot of these pictures many times. We read the books, we read the papers, we made the answers. But how far do we know? What do we know? And how much have we thought about it? Or it's just what appears on the screen or the page. When you look at one of its pictures, comes down, isn't even an amino acid, is a plasma. To all of us in the Keshe Foundation, the way we look at the amino acid is something oily, flat, on top of the ganses we make. But what happens if we turn this plasma into a vacuum condition? How would the amino acid look as a plasma? Is truly three-dimensional. And then when you look at it, then if you can turn again the amino acid of the copper oxide, zinc oxide, and CO2 or CH3 or other materials which you make, put them in a vacuum condition. Appropriate for it to take its optimal shape and what we call motion. What will we get? For sure, we get the shape of a cell of a man. For sure, for the first time, we'll see that structure. When you work in a correct vacuum condition as the body of the man, you see things in a different way. Things behave different way. And then we can see how we can, a replication of the man by the fields, by the plasma of it. And then by the essence of the center of it, what we call the operation center of the amino acid, or we call the soul of it. But there is one thing more fundamental than all this when we put it in three dimensions. In a way, that cell as an interactive entity is a fundamental plasma, is a neutron, is the beginning of a cycle for another cycle. In the books and in all the teaching, we continuously speak about fundamental plasma, which is by its nature, the initial, the beginning, what we call what we see in the outset of the work of what we call movement, motion of what we see as magnetic fields in different direction, in different strengths, in different sizes, but in totality, as they have one common denominator in the center, they behave, they are connected to, and they interact with each other. You only can bring plasma together when you have common denominator-based function in respect to the environment which they exist. One plasma might not exist on Earth, but that fundamental plasma exists on the moon, which we are not aware of. We don't have awareness of it. We don't have the education of it. We haven't been there. The fundamental plasma on another planetary system, another solar system of the galaxy is different. But in essential understanding, they behave in the same manner. What does happen with this fundamental plasma? We talk about division of it. When the fundamental plasma goes through a cycle of the division and creates and releases what we call nuclear decay. How does this nuclear decay take place? How does this nuclear decay? It starts that it reaches this point. This nuclear decay It starts by interaction of these fields inside and become gradually stronger. That is internal central field force in respect to the internal field force of the original plasma has to show reaction, magnetic position. And what it does, when the field strength in this plasma reaches in force equal or in line of interaction similar to the original, then it takes its position. In taking position, it shows as the plasma has divided, what we call nuclear decay. So in a way, electron, you call it, the soul of the man, you call it, or the start of the creation of any entity as a plasma starts to speak. You call this fundamental plasma, where by strength interaction of the fields within it goes through a nuclear decay. But what is the other understanding of this technology, this plasma? You call this one nuclear decay. You have another fundamental plasma. We call it the creator, where through the interaction of its fields, through interaction of the fields of itself, going through a decay, has created the creator and mitra, or the soul of the creator and the rest of the creation. But still, within its structure, carries the same. We have chosen different names for the same process. Fundamental plasma, the original. The creator is the same. The original, where through decays and decays of frequent developments and interaction of other fields has led to creation of many galaxies, universes, and the rest, where in this process you become another elements, as we know in the cycle of the knowledge of the man. So when we talk about the fundamental plasma and we talk about the creator, there can be no difference. But the fundamental question to ask in the fundamental plasma of a neutron, we guess, we know what fields could be there and how they came, because they came from another process. What about the fields which led to the creation of the creator, which led to creation of the plasma of the creator, that in its division this process led to this.
Sorry, Mr. Keshe, we missed about the last sentence.
No problem. We know that the fundamental plasma comes through what we call the evolution, division, interaction of the fields of the creator. So we see step down process. We see interaction of the fundamental plasmas in with each other or together, or amalgamating together leads to creation of new cycles of life. We call it the cell of the man, we call it the body of the man, we call it a tree. So what happened to the division of the fields of the creator, which instead of the man or a tree became galaxies, became universes and the rest? Now we understand. Now we can go a step further to be able to comprehend the process of creation, to understand what and how and where we came, what we were created of, and in a way to find, comprehend, to walk the path, the reverse way to the creator, or in a way become part of the fundamental plasma which led to the creation of totality. But there is a huge question. Where did the fields of the creator come from? what led to the creation of this universe, how was it created? Or is it the physicality of the man, the physicality of the universe, a mirage? Because if we cannot find the essence, the origin of the fields, we have no reality to the functionality of the creator and the created. Where did the fields of the universe come from? Where did the fields of the creator came from that led to the creation of the universe, the man and the rest? The question is very deep, but understanding of it brings man to one point: the powerlessness to understand the totality of the creation at this moment of time. No medication and no meditation will bring man to understand the process, the structure of the creation. But fundamentally, the fields of the gases, of the amino acids, of us, the other animals, once upon a time was part of the fields of the creator. Once upon a time was part of the process of the what we call fundamental plasma. But how much plasma, how much fields was within that original creation and the creator's plasma that now we still see the expansion of it. We still see the division of it. We still see the nuclear decay in a larger scale than an atom. What we call nuclear decay of the universe, nuclear decay of the plasma. In the cosmology, we have seen this. If you look, and in some of the papers and the book, I have referred to this, that in some parts of the universe, cosmologists see fields, collection of galaxies which are rotating in the opposite direction to the environment. And most of these are created by the interaction of the fields of the other universes. But some of these are those electrons which are ready to depart. So even we live in this universe, and what our scientists observe, what our scientists tells us, we see these patches. Which one of them indicates the interaction with the universe? And which one of them will indicate this is the new electron, the new universe to be propelled out of this universe, to start a new cycle. But when this universe reaches its destiny, or this, when this what I call Maghreb positioning in respect to the other universes, would it stay the same size? Or would it take fields, what is free within the environment of the universe, and expand itself to a bigger universe? That it can be equal and it can be tolerated and could be balanced magnetic gravitationally in respect to the other universes. In reality, man has just put a toe into the ocean of the knowledge of the creation. We still got to feel the warmth of it, and then we have to trust it, and then jump in it, and that jumping takes a lot of knowledge. How to survive in this ocean of the knowledge and the reality of the creation and the creator. To what extent our scientists have ever understood this process? We just look at galaxies, we look at the stars, they're there, they hit each other, they're in that position. We see the same star in the same position for thousands of years. But where this all came from. Where did this came to be part of? Where the fields which their interaction and what I call amalgamation led to the creation of the plasma of the creator. And if this is correct, which it has to be because we see it in the image of the nuclear decay, then it comes, where did the fields of the creator came from? Is there another dimension above? Or forever we go to God, to God, to God, to God, and the gods, which is the father of the God, of the father of the God, of the God. Then they're back in the same cycle. But essentially, where did the first magnetic fields, which led to the creation of present universe and unicosmos, came from? Well, as I said, if we cannot understand it, or we cannot explain it, and we cannot physically, tangibly lead our knowledge to understand it, then everything we have around us is nothing but a mirage and a facade. And then it comes to the point, was it the fields of strength of the emotion which led to the creation of the creator? Or did the creator have, as fields interaction, created his own emotion? In the Quran, Blessed Muhammad says, he has 100 attributes. And that's only in the matter state, not in the plasma state. The attributes of the creator is incalculable. We cannot even talk about it. We just talk about what we understand emotionally in the dimension of the fields of the matter state of this planet. Then it comes that if in our knowledge, if with our understanding, we could find the fields of emotion of the creator, would we be able to interact with it? Then emotion transfers our connection. Even the field emotion of the creator has a strength. Otherwise, it cannot interact. It's an effect of his existence. And to be there, to interact, it has to have a dimension. Then, can we in the new processes come to understand this? Can we in these processes go through the condition of understanding the totality of the motion in the universe? Many of you will be shocked when you will see the enhancement flight unit's process of flight and interaction with the soul of them. Never been seen at all. Is a technology which has been hidden from man. It's understanding the process of the creation through the soul of the system. System, be it the aircraft, be it the flight system, be it the creator, be it another person. The new flight system, which you will see, will be unveiled in a very short time. You will see something has never been seen before, never been comprehended, that man can reach this level of understanding that he does not even need to move his physical body, where he can transmute his soul and manifest himself even within the soul of the Creator, if the man understands the strength of the transmutation and transportation of the fields of the universe. In the new enhancement units of light, you will be baffled when you walk in. You walk in within the fields of the universe. You walk in with an understanding of the creation of the condition of the universe. Then, if your soul finds its strength within the strength of the system, and find its position in the fields of the universe, it'll be one of the most amazing flight systems man has ever seen. And its simplicity will baffle the scientists for centuries to come. You got to understand, to be able to travel within the ocean of this planet, it took man years to create submarines. To be able to hide and be inside a cocoon, we call it the submarine, to be able to move like a fish. Now we have brought the knowledge of the submarine of floating within the fields of the universe, and having the ability to reach the strength of the fields of the emotion of the Creator. If man decides to be as pure as the Creator, detached, where physicality and the wealth of this planet has no meaning, where the wealth of the knowledge of the universe, where the wealth of the understanding the process of the creation is sacrosanct. Then you become that circle. Then you become that fields within the embodiment of the field of the Creator. And one day, when your strength reaches the strength in power of time, you become another universe. Another attribute embedded with the fields of the Creator. Then the question comes, is the Creator within me, or am I within the Creator? The motion of the fields of the cell of the man, the amino acid of the body of the man, is another connection in line of the totality of the existence of the Creator. And we are still in that process of being created as a cell to further on to create a new dimension, and then for that again to become part of the new dimension. And then, as I've said many times, if this process exists, that we go from the soul of the Creator to creation of the universe, then there must be an environment that this universe is going into. And then the question is, what is this? Where we, as our Creator, we think and we pray to, and we see that the omnipotent self is part of another structure. You cannot blow a balloon in a room if the balloon has no room to grow. The universe, as we see, cannot expand with 1 million kilometers an hour if the room for it to expand doesn't exist. But where is that room? What is that room? Where is the limitation of the understanding of the man in respect to the present knowledge of humanity? Won't man lose itself when he reaches to that level of understanding? Or would man become satisfied and matured once understand this understanding? All the wealth on this planet worth nothing compared to the fraction of the knowledge of the Creator and creation for man to understand. Then you need to understand more about what you do in these gas boxes. You just made the gas. You're still in the dimension of the what we call field strength of this planet. what about when you put the gans in a vacuum? In the near future, many of you in the Institute of Keshe Foundation will do this because it's the only way we will see the reality of the interaction of the field. Where we can take one gas and change the environment of it and see it the size of a football, then see the interactions with it. If any of you have worked as much as I've done, and many of you in the laboratories where we work at -11, -12 in the vacuum condition, you see the beauty of the creation. You see how things take shape. You see creation within the vacuum chambers. We see the energy they release after we shut down, after when they exist. When we did these tests in Bruges, in Belgium, in the Ukrainian made the special space vacuum systems, when we shut down our reactors, when we shut down everything, then the fields used to play. And then we several times could not control these fields, and they went through the channels of the fields of the man, and they burned the system after it left. What are called fields transportation, transmutation, where they cannot find a space and they travel because there is no limitation with the matter state of the man. Then can we become part of that field? Then can we become part of that, what we call non-tangible fields, and travel the embodiment of the body of the man or within the environment of the man? In the production of the new systems for flight, again in the lab, in production, our people saw the same thing. After they switched the system off, times later, the merger of the plasma fields with no electric connection has melted the board because the fields are still in existence. The body goes to sleep, but the soul and the fields are still active. The same as you go to sleep, but everything still goes on. I call it a dream. How can we use these positions, or do we learn from them that in the future we switch off the physicality and we let the fields of the soul of the man, the body of the man, the cell of the man to take what are called the free fall? Take the path where it is allowed by the strength it's gathered to find its position. Isn't this what happened to us when we die? But now, through understanding of the system, we do not to die, but we can be there to enjoy the fields of emotion of these fields within the system, be it interaction with the mother or the dog, or feeling how the furniture feels when I jump on it. Everything has an emotion, everything has a feeling because it's made of the dynamic fields. Now, the science of creation goes back to the fundamental plasma. Be it a neutron in an atom, be it proton in an atom, be it an electron within an atom. In the present nuclear technology, which are always objected to the nuclear scientists, we always speak about nuclear decay. But in fact, we have proton decay, we have electron decay, which means when the fields inside build another dimension within them, and then not holding, they go through the process. Our nuclear physicists always have made this limitation that a neutron decays. God forbid. A proton came from the neutron, has the same attribute, has the same properties, has the same expansion and extension on the fields and interaction. When our scientists come to understand the process of the proton decay, electron decay, Then we will move more in understanding the dimension of the creation. Then we understand that when we go through a division of an atom, it's not only that the one neutron changed or neutron position themselves. We have to see which electrons have changed as well, which protons have changed again, gave and things. Just because we see the numbers does not mean it's the same proton. It doesn't mean it's the same electron. It doesn't mean it's the same neutron. And then if we understand this process, we go back to the fundamental process of the decay, fundamental decay, and the fundamental elements of the universe, which goes back to the process of the division of the fields of the creator. As a nuclear physicist, this misunderstanding, this words of only neutron decays has bothered me for decades. But you cannot speak about it because they don't understand it. Even our own nuclear physicists never been taught, could never comprehend what is good for a girl, but for gander too. If it's good for the goose, it's the same thing as for the girl. If we can eat the same grass, it does the same thing in the body as the other. This is the part of the knowledge that you as knowledge seekers now have to react, interact, understand to be able to go to the next step of the fundamental process of the creation of the elements, movement of the fields, energy transmutation, and transportation and transmutation in energy or matter state or the field state, which is part of the universal process of creation. The reason I brought this topic up is that when you see the new enhancement flight systems, you wonder, what does it do till you get in it? But when you got in it, what can I do? The process is for knowledge seekers to understand interaction of the fields of the plasma. Many times I've said, stop looking at the matter state, look at the fields, interaction of the fields, and the behavior of the fields. With the new flight system, you have no choice. You have to be able to understand it. There is no control panel. There is nothing when you walk in. You walk into an empty room. It goes back to the box we showed in Idaho, an empty box of the energies of the universe. You walk into that box. Your soul becomes part of that box. You're another stick hanging on the wall of the cap of that box. But it goes back. What do we take from the fields of the universe? And what we give to the fields of the universe to keep our emotion and our soul in respect to the emotion we have intact. That at the end of the process, we put a chicken, we get out the chicken. We don't put a chicken and we get the turkey on the other side. It's fundamental for those of you who are playing with this knowledge to understand. Many of you might think we talk to you as a knowledge seekers you work at home. Keshe Foundation teaching is listened by many scientists in the advanced research laboratories around the world. And many of them work, wants to understand, to develop a new dimensions in technology. This type of teaching is for them, especially in the space level and beyond. Our knowledge seekers, what we call those who understand and look after the depth of the knowledge, does not finish with you who are online today, the scientists from leading universities, flight institutes, and religious organizations which listen to every word of the teachings to see what they can grasp in their field of expertise. And how they can expand the knowledge. The understanding of the expansion of the energies of the soul of the man covers both those universities and the structures which are theologies and the scientific together. We have this in Vatican as much as we have it in Islamic Republic of Iran in universities with trained clergies and teach them to be a doctor, teach them to be a physicist, and teach them to be the others, where they try to understand on the ethos of theology, the understanding of the true essence of the creation. And these scientists will expand the knowledge of the man in a much deeper way than our knowledge seekers who just make guesses. It's a time to understand the process of interaction of the theology and the science together, that all of you become an expert in understanding and the responsibility of the motion of the soul of the man in respect to the physicality of the man. The new enhancement unified system will force us to that position. We throw in man in the deep oceans of the knowledge of the universe by releasing the new flight enhancement unit. And we hope none of you will get drowned in that knowledge. But you understand it, you process it, and with it, you create the new dimensions of existence for mankind. The 4 flight systems, which are now getting ready to be tested in June, will bring a new dimension to the flight of the man, what I call the flight of fancy. In a way, what you want, you will achieve. And when you come back, I've been there since we haven't seen you, you haven't been there. I've seen the mother, and mother says we have to do this, but the mother died 40 years ago. But with the understanding of the new structure, you have not grabbed, you have created the fields that already had a connection with the mother to enhance, to see the mother in the dimension of the soul, but to the image of understanding of the fields of the I is the mother. Then it brings a more fundamental question to all of us. Is what we see a mirage that through the conversion of the information in our eyes become a mother? If we can make that in the dimension of sleep, how come we have not made it in the dimension of what we call awakeness? Then is the reality to the dimension of the physicality of the existence? Or is it always a mirage? Or with the new technology, with a new understanding, we create a condition to be able to travel between the two. The space scientists, the scientists of cosmology, and the scientists of what I call theology would release of the new enhancement flight system will have a big dilemma how to work it. Many of you walk in and you say it doesn't work. And many of you walk in and you tell a lot. And then who do we understand? And who do we comprehend in about the talk? And who, which one of you is now ready, has not understood, so cannot reach that point of interaction? The new enhancement unit for flight is one of the simplest but more comprehensive ways to teach man the first step about the motion, about interaction, about transmutation within the fields of the universe. This week I was in the lab, and when I saw the structure next to each other, it brought me to teach more. for you to understand in the near future, even these structures will be non-tangible than the physical way you see in the present enhancement. We tap into the energies of the universe and we give to the soul of the man what it needs from it to elevate itself and then transmute itself through the same process to reach the dimension of the soul of the others, to create a dimension of the reality of the existence in the dimension of the soul of the man, not in the dimension of physicality of the man. Where the man now walks the street, but the soul is working with the other souls in the background, living in a schizophrenic life of the physicality and the fields of the universe. With the new enhancement units, we bring that position that man continuously is aware of the both which one is enjoyable and which one he wants to work with and how to coexist, that the use of the matter state of the man by killing to consume will come to an end. Try to understand the teaching of today. Try to understand exactly what is talked about. Try to work in the dimension of the fields, understanding the strength field division, and then try to understand how these are interconnected with the soul of the man, soul of physicality of the man, the physicality of the man, and the physicality of the environment, and the soul of the environment, which brings you to that point. Then is man ready to see the Christ with his own eyes in the enhancement? I promise you this years and years ago. Would the Pope have any position when he stands in front of what he preached to be his master? But he lied in his name, and he betrayed in his name, and he killed in his name. I promise you, if you go back years ago and return the stones of Vatican back to Colosseum, where it came. Because the man has to understand the process of the theology, the creation, and the state of the matter state, that one cannot use that. When man dismantles the Vatican by his own hand, he will not even return it to Colosseum, where the man abused the physicality of the man, but in Vatican they use the soul of the man in the name of the Creator. Then man become knowledgeable to see. Man will put the flock of the religion and what I call abuse of the soul of the man on the doors of the churches, the mosques, and the rest. We all walk the same. But there shall be no king, as we all understand the kingdom comes from the understanding and knowledge of the Creator, and not with the flock of the man and abusive behavior of the other physicality of the man. We're in that process to launch the flight system and then to expand it for more people to be able to see, to be able to reach, to be able to understand. Most of the time, you're not aware of it, even when you walk in the exhibition in Leeds. When you pass one of the units, just beware, the unit is alive. It's still getting fat, it's still putting weight on, and is the same as you, but is there not to eat you, but to consume the energy fields of its environment to confirm its existence. The new flight system, which will be released in the coming time, will teach the man to fly in the dimension of the soul of the man and not the physicality. And then man decides where, in what shape and form, to manifest itself in the dimension of physicality. As we say in English, I would like to be the fly on the wall to see what happens in that room. Now you have that opportunity that you go in with the soul of the man and you become fly on that wall to see what the man says about the man. Because now you are in charge of it, you understand the process of it, and with it you gather the knowledge of the creation and not the wealth of the man. Try to understand the work of the fundamental plasma, the creation of it, the process of its existence, without these hullabaloo of the quarks and anti-quarks and everything else. Look at it as a dimension of a planetary system. Look at it as an interaction of the fields of the cell of the man. Look at it as an interaction of galaxies in a bigger dimension as organs. Then you will see and you understand the process. As I thought some time ago to one of the knowledge seekers, you think that you are the only being that you can eat and reject. The same thing happens in the universal and in the galaxy state. When the field energies absorbed are not needed, are gathered in one place, and imbalance of the fields rejected as what we call maybe an electron. It's the same process. It doesn't mean that every field enter or in an entry and then conversion is needed by a cell, by a galaxy, by a universe. They are gathered in one place. And then in time, when they gather enough strength, they're rejected. We see these in the oceans of the man with the plastic ocean, what we call islands. They come from all over the planet. They gather in the heaps in the oceans, and they create a dimension. Then what happens to them? How do we reject them? It's the same as that electron. How is it going to be rejected? We see these in the clouds above the skies. Not all the clouds are just what you see as the wind goes, but they are amalgamation of the field energies which the planet cannot hold on to. It gathers together, breaks it up, and creates a new dimension of the fields, which some of it, a fraction of it, comes towards the Earth. The rest move outside the planetary system. When you see and hear a thunder, it's not that what happens under where you are. The fields which the planet cannot hold on to, which are gathered in the upper atmosphere, are rejected out of this planet. Otherwise, this planet will be heaped of the fields of the solar system. Part of the process of the clouds and interaction of the fields in the planetary system like Earth is rejection of the fields which cannot be absorbed, and at the same time, rejection of the fields for the creatures which are above the clouds, as we've seen in the videos and confirmation by NASA and the space scientists. We think we get everything, but they need the energies of this planetary system because they're part of it. And then you open your eyes in a new dimension. What does the soul of me needs and holds on to, and what does the soul of me gives out? That it can give opportunity to the other souls to live the physicality still. Go back to one of the talks of the long time where I explained about why the grandparents love and enjoy the grandchildren. The use of energy which they carry, it gives them strength, new dimension, what they don't need, but it's what is needed by the old man. We do that in the young age, but we forget about the process because the hugging and emotion is much more than the truth in what actually the emotion is and what it does. This is the process of understanding the field's interaction of the universe. And mankind has no choice, no alternative, but to understand it in a very short time as new technologies in space are released, not only by Keshe Foundation. In a very short time, once we launch these systems, others will develop parallel, equal, better system than us, because they understand part of the knowledge that we were not interested in. The race to space truly starts now that the mankind as a whole, with the free teaching of Keshe Foundation, has allowed totality of the knowledge seekers of this planet to start racing to be able to expand, to use, and everything else. The interest will not be in how much harvest will increase. It will be how much happier we can make the harvest to be, that while it's there, it enjoys its existence because we don't need to eat it. It's not there for us to kill. The process of the technology is finished. All those knowledge seekers who were leading as knowledge seekers with just making gases and nano plates and whatever is over. We respect and value the knowledge abroad, but it's time for the whole of Keshe Foundation knowledge seekers to move up to a higher level, to understand more, to understand the interaction of the fields as the matter state of the condition of the use is over. Even though we keep you busy because the new knowledge seekers have to do it. Those of you who were the original knowledge seekers and you got stuck that I'm a leading nano plate maker and the science of plasma, gas making, you got to stop in last century's game. Move up, move to the new understanding and create the new levels of education for our knowledge seekers to come. We still teach people how to nanocoat, how to make gases, because through that they feel the fields of the gas, they understand there is something more, and then they develop to the next step. But those of you who understand in a higher level of education, universities and scientists who work around the work of the Keshe Foundation, let's step up. As the English say, if you don't want to be a tomato, you better catch up. It's time to move on. It's time to understand the process of the interaction of the fields of the creation. Fundamental plasma, as you all talk about it, and its decay, change the fundamental plasma to creator. And then understand how much you still need to understand about the whole process. As I always said, when you read the books, the 3 books, depending on the understanding, depending on the comprehension, you will see it fits into another dimension. It's very generic. It's written in the language of a nursery, the language of the professor. Depends on what level your understanding is. You still gaga-gooing in the nursery, or you speak about the creation and totality of understanding in universities. Interpretation comes by knowledge, but the book is the same, and the understanding is the same, and the process is the same in all levels of the creation. But there's one point of mystery which man cannot understand at this moment, and he's not matured enough to understand. As I said, where did the fields came that it led to the creation of the creator? And it's so powerful that it can split after billions of years, still create man, and still carry on creating new dimensions. How strength and compact are the fields of the Creator that in what are called divisional separation across the universe still have a long way to go to feel the full space given to them by the uniqueness to grow into the dimension of its existence. And then, who made that limitation of the loom? Well, are unicos. Then that comes to another point of understanding. Thank you very much for today. And I hope you open your eyes in the old teaching, but with a new eye and new understanding of the totality of what. Rick, if you would like to go on a break and we come back and we carry on with any questions.
Okay, very good. Thank you, Mr. Keshe. I'll play some of the horizontal, vertical, and other unit videos in our break here as a partial answer to Katie, who has a question about med beds that we'll bring up after the break. Okay, bye for now, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
The new Horizontal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a space technology that allows you to work with the fields of the universe. Creating a wide range of plasma field interactions and conditions, it allows the body to process itself from any physical or emotional imbalance. Once this balanced condition is achieved, the soul and emotion of the man can follow to find their balance, elevating the whole of the man. The new Horizontal Enhancement Spaceship Unit. Technology of the future through advanced plasma knowledge.
The new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit. A plasma space technology to prepare humanity for transportation and transmutation in deep space. Essential processes are embedded to prevent mutations and psychosomatic conditions during deep space travel. This new system is designed to support upper body conditions, especially of the lungs and intestines, and can be targeted specifically for each organ. When inside the Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the body experiences balance in totality, enabling it to correct and rebalance all the fields within itself. The new Vertical Enhancement Spaceship Unit, a dimension in health and transportation never seen before. The Universal Body Enhancement Spaceship Unit. The very first new evolutionary spaceship technology has been rolled out for mass production. Embedding the essence of the new GAN's plasma science and technology, it uses collective plasma field technology for changing and enhancing the environment of the body of the man. This new plasma enhancement changes the environment of the body to allow it to return to its natural, balanced, energetic condition, as in the womb of the mother, allowing every cell in the body of the man to find its natural, original field strength balance. The shape and field distribution in this new space plasma technology replicates the inner structure of the universe and replicates the balance fields from which the man was created at the point of inception in the womb of the mother, not only receiving balance in the physical, but also in the emotional sense too. This new spaceship technology can be within the reach of every man today and can be ordered by medical practitioners, sports specialists, and healthcare centers. The Universal Enhancement Spaceship Unit, the future you have been waiting for, is here.
Okay, we're back here. Just bear with me a second while I get my background image up. There we go. Share that. Okay, welcome back to our workshop, the 431st Knowledge Seekers Workshop here on Thursday, May 5th, 2022. I think we're ready to begin the second part of the workshop, which is usually the Q&A, questions and comments from people that might like to engage. We have attendees here that we can allow you to speak on your microphone if you put your hand up, and then we can engage that function. Hello, Mr. Keshe. Are you ready for engaging people here?
Yeah, as usual. Sometimes the second part is better than the first part.
Yes, indeed. Well, we have we don't have any willing hands yet. People are sometimes a little shy to begin. But we do have a question from Katie, which is posted both in the YouTube and in our Q&A here. Katie says, Mr. Keshe, recently I found information about a new technology that is about to expand on Earth. They call it, well, she calls it MEB beds, but I think she means med beds, which are quantum beds made of plasma. There are experiences of people who go to dimensions 8 and 12 in the etheric. Have you heard of this type of technology, and what can you tell me about it? And that's partially why I played those videos. Some of them I was going to play anyway, but the question seemed appropriate, so I played all the videos that we had.
Yeah, medbed is a term came in sci-fi TV programs, as we said before. The people who use or have come up with this technology is partially our knowledge seekers in the background, who have tried to implement, they use the word quantum from it. It's partially work of the Keshe Foundation. We know one of our knowledge seekers who was very close to us broke off with the Russians trying to promote this, but stays in the background, not to be known. That is what you call is a scientific, but not a scientific term, but it's a film, what I call came from Hollywood words of what we call a space, what we call programs or movies. The technology of the medbeds, what you call it, is totally different, and it's mainly in quantum physics direction. And we know a couple of our knowledge seekers are working in the background with a group of scientists to come with this, what we call the medbed theory and the work of the others. But you will see the Keshe Foundation enhancement units and what we call flight system has never been seen before. It's not a knowledge that is in public, and it doesn't bear any similarities to what you call these systems. It's space level, highly plasma space level, and it's totally different game. We do not work on the understanding or present understanding of what we see with these technologies. When you create a dynamic system, even we seen it with the Italians, and some Germans made these kind of things. And we saw with Dr. in Germany, and we saw Dr. Rodriguez made some systems with gases and rotating balls, and many of you made those coils, double coils, and hung them on the wall. When you enter the fields of created by man in these systems, you always get a reaction, and depends how, if it's in tune with your body or not. And I studied this very closely in the trials in China, where we did with some systems without people knowing, thinking what they thought they were doing, but in fact I was looking in another dimension in the use of the system. They were interested in one way, and we were interested in another. How the soul will decide I had enough, and how the physicality decides to change. And we see it, and medbed is a fancy name from the television called sci-fi movies. But if you create a dynamic field, you will have interaction with the body of the man, because it's a GANS, it's a magnetic field dynamic itself. How you feel out of it is different, but how you target it is different. Any other question?
Okay, we have Salamia in the YouTube says, could the 9th of May be the date of peace negotiation and not a new stage of the conflict? Let's send this wish in the souls of all decision makers.
What does that mean?
Do you think the 9th of May could be a start or date of the start of peace negotiations, or
with what? With who? What are we talking about?
I think she's talking about the Ukrainian and Russian situation. That
Ukrainian and Russian situation is very clear what's happening. It's I think I try to keep out of this situation because we know more than you do. And we understand what's happening in the background. You will see the new movement, new actions, new interactions. It's you have to understand how this thing is developing and how the West is propaganda the way the Americans want you to see. And the propaganda from the Russians, what they want you to see. And somewhere in between, you see it with a neutral position. You have to understand, whenever we gave the work to actors and comedians and footballers, we always run into relation with bankruptcy and problems. We saw Reagan, and now we see Ukrainian president, which is a comedian. He is actually a comedian. He thinks the life of people in Ukraine is a comedy. He wants to make a laugh out of it. He never understood the power of politics, what it means, and he just played a game of what I call cartoons with his nation. A comedian should never become a politician, especially leading a nation. We saw the same thing happen in Liberia. A footballer became head of a nation, and the nation's going bankrupt. He doesn't know which end of the table is the head of the table or the bottom of the table. We've seen the same thing with a cricketer, Mehran Khan, in Pakistan. He had to be kicked out of the office because he married a rich English Kazakh family, and he managed to buy himself presidential or prime ministership, brought the nation to its knees. Ukraine came out of what I call a comedian, become a leader, and they played with him, and he played his nation. He thought he was on the stage making jokes, but these things do not take jokes with the Russians. Forget about that is an Orthodox, deep Jewish background. This is the question which is raising now in the leadership around the world, how such a deep Christian nation has a Jewish societal state. Not that there's something wrong with it, but how was he put in that position? A lot of question marks about what is happening in Ukraine. And now we see in the background with our latest things coming up. Vatican has accepted the defeat in Ukraine. We might see the next step, which is a submission. You go to see the defeated, goes to see the victorious, which we most probably see under different disguises, Pope in Moscow very soon. You remember he went to the embassy, and now he went there. But there's a lot of angles to this situation in Ukraine. It's not just one. And we're seeing deliberate destruction, 50% by the Russians and 50% by Ukrainians themselves, because they are not Ukrainian. You have to understand where we see the intensive fighting, they are the mercenaries which were brought in. Estimated 10 to 15,000 mercenaries are in Ukraine. They're getting paid to shoot. And they're getting paid in advance if they kill. So they don't care who they shoot. This Mariupol situation is about 1,600 of them trapped in there. They are from Albania, they are from some from Far East, they are from North Africa. It's a business game. but they don't tell us on that side. There is another 9 to 11,000 of them on the west side waiting, ready to get engaged with the Russians. This multiple situation you see going step by step is trained mercenaries. They come to earn money, it doesn't matter what happened to the nation. And they are blowing everything up. It's been given ammunition, do what you like. This Ukrainian situation is not what they made us to see in the West. It's much more deeper. It's got everything now involved in. They're testing the latest systems. The Americans are benefiting more than anybody else by it with the testing there. They haven't had time for a few years testing the new things and are failing. We have a bunch of the new, what do you call, drones backfired to themselves and killed more Ukrainian than anybody else, and then they blame the Russians for it because Ukrainian got all the faulty systems which they wanted to get rid of. All these gets paid by Vatican, so they're testing. Peace in Ukraine is a long way from what you call it peace. This will come when Pope signs the defeat of Vatican in this position. As are financing it. Every bullet, every mercenary, every wages is underwritten by Vatican.
Yes, I was surprised one time to see that the Vatican blesses the weapons that they send out. It just seemed like such a contradiction.
We see in this religious fanatic wars is worse than two religious wars. You know, with the Israelis and the Arabs, you know what they're talking about. They pray to the same wall. But the Christians, fighting Christians, nobody can come in between. There's something they have to settle.
I see that there's a news item in the last 2 days that the Pope is wanting to visit Putin. What do you think about that?
I've seen this headline, but our sources in Vatican tell us it's already been arranged. They have to talk to be able to do it. You got to understand, you have cornered, or the West things have cornered Russia, but we in the West will pay heavily for this job with our lifestyles. We've seen gases has gone up by 7 times in Western Europe. The Americans are trying to find new gas resources, coming to agreement in the background with Iran, with the gas resource in the Persian Gulf. They're putting pressure on Amman and Qatar to export more of the material. They want to ban the Europeans, Russian oil, but the fact is this is a blessing for the other part of the world, which they can now buy oils, which of the, what do you call it, the Russian-based material, they have to change their filters. And it's, in general, the winner in this war is what I call the Americans and the Russians. Both are benefiting by it. And the rest in the middle, they're paying for it. The shortage of food shortage will be up in the next 2 years. You will see. We will be hit by colossal price increases in food due to Ukraine-Russia war. And the Russians have gone for the ports. This is something which a lot of you have no understanding of, because you don't look for the dimensions we do. These ports are the silos, are the bread baskets of many Middle Eastern and some of the Western Europe grain sources. And Russians went for it. The prize here is not the land, it's the product of the land. And thousands of tons of grain has changed hand under Russian occupation and it's become a Russian asset. Russians have already been paid for the occupation. And that's why they went for these ports. All the grains are moved to the ports to be shipped out. And they went and they took. And that's why they're fighting in the, what they call the port areas, because they can handle everything else, but railways are on the head, and to stop the guns and bullets moving, the ports are there because all the grains have been moved, it's sitting in there. Ukraine is a breadbasket of oil and grain for many, many nations, and they got their hands on it. And it doesn't mean it's going to be a shortage, it's just that there's another boss in the office, but the same grain is sold in the accounts of, and they'll never come back. It's become national assets of Russia. And as we hear now, even the farmers are encouraged to farm in the field. Battlefields is in the big cities we see they want to show. Their life in other parts carries as normal, and they'll pay the works or whatever, the same as the Russian way in olden days, to harvest the land. We don't see all of it, we just see a few pictures they choose us to see in the West. And this portrait, this map hole, which has been used, has a long history into the Second World War, as all of us know. It has many undergrounds, comes up kilometers out of the steel industry. All these mercenaries come and go through these tunnels. And Russians owning these properties for years, they know all the rat holes. This steel factory was used for resistance against Nazis by the Ukrainians when they were fighting Nazis, and it's well known. This has got, as somebody said, it's got more hidden undergrounds than the tunnels in London with the metro. It's not just hitting steelwork, it's a rat hole of mercenaries which came in to come up to it, but they got trapped into it. And some went in there to safeguard their lives and they got trapped into it. Any other question?
Okay, we had a question from Jan in the YouTube chat here regarding today's teaching. Question is the field of the creator also going through a decaying process? If yes, then what too?
Doesn't decay. Does not decay. Even in nuclear technology, we call it decay is the wrong word. It converts to new levels. Decay, we have the mindset that it gets destroyed and rots and blah, blah. No, it just gets divided into different strengths. You still have the principle in the center, you still have the transition and what we see outside and ingoing and outgoing, we call it magnetic fields. Decay is the wrong way because it doesn't actually decay, it doesn't reduce in strength. It's a collection of the new strengths which can interact with the environment. And some of the fields which are not useful to both new entities when it converts becomes the fields which the environment can use. That's why when we speak even in nuclear conversion, we say when the neutron splits into electron atom, a proton, it's not just, we always show some fields radiated, that's in the terminology we use it to heat up the water or whatever. These are the energies which are no use to both parties of a division. But they become absorbed they become a food. And this is what we're trying to encourage knowledge seekers to understand this process, that you don't eat the proton, you don't eat the electron, you use the fields which are released by them, which is no use to them. And if man understands that position, you create a condition, and it's in the structure of the enhancement units, flight enhancements. This is what we do. We keep on telling you we don't feed you, but we create a condition of the fields in transmutation that your body can accept as food, as energy, that it can survive. And the design of the new space units is that we tap into the universal energy every second. We develop the technology to tap into universal energy every second and feed back what we don't need. That's why we don't have a toilet. This is to understand the process. Nothing decays, rots, or disappears. It just becomes amalgamation of new field packages and what is not needed as a field consumed. And in the nuclear technology, as I said, we rely on these fields which are not needed by electron and a proton in what we call nuclear reaction. We absorb it in the water, we boil the water. But now, with the knowledge we have, we don't need to absorb it with the water to boil it. We absorb it with the water which is in the body of the man, and then it's used in the limbs by food. But the other question comes in, when we go to space, would our body carry lymph? Would our body carry water? Or would the composition of the elements of the body of the man get rid of that, what we call matter states, or what we call the liquid state of the lubrication, as we call lymph? We don't have water in space, so body has to change to new dimensions, new ways of adapting into the environment. Many of changes will come over time as the man stays longer and longer in space.
Mr. Keshe, you mentioned earlier in their workshop today about the amino acid and what would happen in the vacuum condition. And you mentioned the vacuum of the body and so on. But it reminded me of the early days, let's say, of the Keshe Plasma Reactor Group, which was originally based on the vacuum condition reactors that you were working on at that time. And one of the first things that you taught us in working with such technology, when you mentioned the -10, -11 vacuum condition and so on, that that you wore gloves, like surgical type gloves, when handling the equipment that would be in that vacuum condition, that it had to be squeaky clean, basically, because the oils on our skin would evaporate in that vacuum condition and contaminate the experiment, basically, or could have, introduce side issues and so on. And I wonder if you could talk about that a bit. It kind of struck me when you said the words, the amino acids, they're normally flat in our CO2, or especially the iron kits that we put together, but the CO2 kits, other kits that form the amino acids, they're, like you say, a two-dimensional layer, but in a vacuum condition, they'll open up and it opens up to the imagination what could happen there. It seems to, like you're saying also about in the vacuum condition, lots of interesting things happen, especially the more vacuum there is. But yet there still has to be something there for the fields to kind of work with as well. Could you talk about that a little more and about that idea of that amino acid opening up in the vacuum condition?
In a way, what we see as the amino acid on the top layer of the water is the magnetic field pressure difference between the gas water below and the atmospheric condition above. If you happen, maybe some of you noticed, maybe some of you always blamed it on something else. Some days you create a lot of amino acids and some days you don't. Some days you see the water murky, but some days the water is clear. But some equipments you make a lot of amino acids. Some equipment you make don't make no amino acids. But one thing which you have not noticed, look at the pressure gauge. Look at the condition of magnetic field in that day, in that equipment. How strong is the field of the gas? That maybe you get the amino acid above the surface, or the reverse, you connected it the other way around, and your amino acid is actually, you're making it, but it's in the water. When you work with vacuum systems, you not the normal vacuum systems, what I call chamber vacuum systems, where you see the totality. You see what can be done. Then you understand the dimension of the plasma. Sometimes when we worked on the high, what we call it, condensed field, the process is very simple. You have a chamber, maybe about 20 liters, and you run the chamber for some times till you extract most of the matter state materials out of the chamber. So you have a what I call, as much as possible, matter-free but field full tanks. When we used to run the what we call the flight system, we don't run the chamber while we're trying to vacuum the system, because the ratio of the chamber to the system is it's a huge, it's 100 times more. So what we do, we go reach to the level we want, and then we switch the system off. We hold the chamber. Then through the lines which are connected, we connect our chamber to the big chamber, and it sucks all the material out. If it's the first time you run, you have some gases you filled in to get, but sometimes when you are going for a second, third test or whatever, there's a plasma created inside the chamber. So when you vacuum, and don't forget you have a chamber, not only of a vacuum of the material, but you have a chamber of fields. There is nowhere in the universe which is field free. So if your system in the process of testing created a field which matches the chamber, which happens most of the time, you move that plasma into the big chamber as well. And then you see, because these chambers are glass front, we see like three-dimensional, what do you call it, It's a field, it's an entity, it's a plasma, I call it. One of the reasons we chose the word plasma and we developed it this way is because you see it. If you can hold it, if you don't turn on your chamber to vacuum again, these fields as a plasma you created in a small chamber, now in a bigger chamber, in some cases, they gather together. And you see, it's like an illusion. It exists. And if we don't allow to empty the chamber and we run the chamber to vacuum while this is in, we always damage our systems because the energy of this plasma, this three-dimensional entity, now has found the path through to what we call the system. And this is how we know when we talk about these things that because we see it. And sometimes when the energy created, because you have to understand, in tests, we used combination of gases. It's in some of the teachings, what gases we use. And we use some of these gases for a specific job. We create radiation through gases in 2 or 3 layers, not in 1 layer. And secondly, in our chambers, we have nuclear-based materials already embedded. So we create a very strong dynamic plasma nuclear fields. And because of the material we use to create these fields, we have a combination of the element and field energy as what is on the chips, on the microchips of the vacuum system. So when we release it or we try to pump it out while the fields are still in the bigger chamber, they go through the electric channels to the chipboard, mother chipboards, and they damage them. They literally, they are there, we don't see any burning, but they get plasmatically nano-coated. When we take them out, we see them, they're perfect, the chip is perfect. We x-ray them, we don't see anything, but when we start cutting into some of the chips, you see the what we call plasmatic nano, layering. And the system is perfect, but now it's nano-coated, they become resistant to the condition of the electric current. And I've spoken about this many times before. Even when you use your maggraph system, I speak about the plasmatic nano-coating the wires in the houses. You use the maggraph system more and more. This is how it comes about, because the system creates fields, and it's because it's copper, it matches with your wires and it goes through it. And this is part of understanding how we can put an amino acid, and then if it transferred into the chamber, you see it that now it has a freedom to take shape. This is exactly what happens in our body. The amino acid, due to the salinity and the vacuum body of the man, has the ability to take shape to become the cell of the skin, middle layer or top layer or bottom layer, or become cell of the bone or whatever. Our amino acids are not stuck like a sandwich on top of each other. They're in a vacuum, they're like a ball. They're stuck like when we go to the children playgrounds, they have these huge cages with a lot of balls in it, children jump in it. That's how your body is. There's a bunch of these balls on top of each other, but organized. This is why when you make nano coating, I tell you, put for 1 second just a wire to a power supply or a battery or whatever, that you reorganize. Our body reorganizes through electric currents within the body of the man and the heartbeat, what sits on the stack on the other. The body of the man is not just by happen to be amino acids and stack, like what I call, you go to the doner kebab shops, they put flat layers of meat on top of each other. We are not created that way. We are not flat meats put on top to make the body of the man. We are magnetically, gravitationally exposed environment in a vacuum of the body of the man. And we are like poles, depends how much current it passes, how much field comes from the neural system, how much field comes from the blood, and how much goes out, that it gives a dimension, the cycle of the field. Look at your body and look at the size of the veins and the spread of the veins in your physical body. The upper body, bigger veins, big more information. As it comes to your extremities, fingers, and everything reduces, because you don't need to make those big cells. You don't need to confirm that kind of things. It's not just that gases. Everything has to match to create that condition, that it becomes a cell in a specific position. And when you transfer amino acid in the vacuum condition, which is in the body of the man, it takes a shape. It's a ball shape. It's three-dimensional, not flat. If you understand this, there's a lot of applications for this. Huge.
You mentioned blood, Mr. Keshe, and there's a question from Alexandra of the Brazilian community. In our blood are our records, emotions, magnetic fields, and behaviors. So the question is, why are so many people needing a blood donation? And what happens to the person who donated the blood and to the person who received the blood? How can these records interfere in the life of the donor and the person who received the blood?
Surely, when you receive blood, what you receive carries emotions and affects you. But our body has an adapter. It adjusts that blood to what it needs, the way it needs. And if it fits it, it keeps it. That's why you have different bloods, types. And one doesn't fit the other, because the body cannot, the siphon cannot transfer energies up to. When you see blood, the body immediately, through its in process, adapts or adjusts the blood into your consumption in what you can use. And if you cannot do that, it becomes a foreign body and it can kill you. That's why you can't inject animal blood into your blood sometimes, because it doesn't fit. It doesn't transmute the information, and the body cannot adjust it. If you understand this, you can do a lot of what we call transplants without any problem, because you change the position of interface, new interface, the understanding of the new soul, new body, and then you see how much it changes. The body of the man is a very complicated but very simple system. Do you understand how it works?
Can you explain in a simple way, why do brain tumors occur?
What? Brain tumors?
Yes, why do brain tumors occur?
Same as everything else. You have to find out what has created that gravity. Where? If you look at some of the brain tumors, you can connect it to emotion. When you go to a doctor nowadays, you say, oh, you got a brain tumor. But go on a study how and what that position of the brain where the original tumor is, or was created, to what emotion is connected. Oh, and then if you go back to the patient and talk about them, about that emotion, you'll see the cause of the cancer. Unless you get it by being hit accidentally, which is 10-20% of the cancers. And then because they can analyze it, they can understand it, you find out, oh, the tumor has disappeared or reduced, but it's still there, they can't solve it. At the moment, we are working with a couple of doctors who are, what do you call it, medical doctors, and they have cancer. And they are monitoring the cancer, and we advise them what to do. And watching them, how they change and how things go, how the tumors are growing, how tumors are reducing, what effects they make, and they are monitoring their own cancer. And we are learning a lot, especially from one of them. He's a doctor in cancer. And he wrote to me a few weeks ago, doctors are puzzled that I'm still alive, and they don't want to accept that the GANs technology works. With his cancer, he should have been dead a year or 2 years ago, he says. But with using the GANs, but he's monitoring himself, he's doing everything. He's an amazing doctor. And he says, according to the present medical books, I should have been dead a long time ago. But we still see suddenly the cancer grows, suddenly it stops, and then we look at another angle of what we missed in the process of what should have been done. And it's amazing how we are learning from these doctors about different position of and behavior of the cancer. They literally made themselves volunteer to test these things themselves, and they have access to everything. They do their own blood test every week. They do their own X-rays and whatever they need to do. And we see, oh, it might have grown by 1 millimeter, but if you were not there, it would have grown by 30 millimeter. So still controlling what it is, what it is. And brain cancer has primarily, if it's not due to what we call evolution or through accident that you've been hit and it compresses a point that it becomes a seed for the cancer. It's emotionally based. You have to find out what that emotion, where about that emotion, that brain tumor is, understand it, and then understand the interaction of the soul of physicality and the soul of the man, and then find a solution. They find a solution. If you understand the process of cancer, you can resolve, you can delay, you can stop, you can live with it. And knowing, understanding the technology of what we have and how cancer works, you can do a lot. But unfortunately, we cannot teach these anymore due to the situation we have with what I call demented nation of Belgium. We stopped all these processes, and many of you are suffering because of it. And we are watching it because we cannot get involved. I can help many of you to walk about many diseases. I was diagnosed with a cancer of the pancreas. And remember, if you see, I still have a enlarged liver due to that. But over the past 10, 12 years, it's fully managed. I don't even think about it. It's there. It has been through the process of, and even till recently, I could not eat certain things because of my pancreas will collapse. And you see this. So when you have a pancreas liver condition, you know that straight away with your excrement, you're critical, whatever. With the color of it tells you. So I even passed those points over time using the right process of the cancers for myself. I'll walk away with it. But the medical application of the gas technology is so huge, and we can help many people. But unfortunately, we have this what we call criminal nation, with all this way they leaders work, that they stop the rest of the world to benefit by the technology, which is telling many people benefited by it. You can literally instantaneously, now we have the knowledge to interact with the tumors anywhere in the body. You got to understand, even the tumors have a soul. That's how they get it. If you can interact with it, you can leave it. But why is there? I'm not changing till the guy changes his habit. He changes the state of his son. I'm not moving from pancreas, from prostate. It has to be understood by both sides. It's not a, what do you call it? Again, the medical application, the health application of the Keshe technology would have been world-renowned in what the things we've done. We built the brain, we go the blind, go back to sight, anything else you've seen. But it is the criminality in the eye of a pedophile king and his entourage. The father, the same as the son. We should have been able to help many of you with the technology. Many of you write to me, my son, my daughter, my child, my husband, my wife. I can guide you the way I guided Giovanni to build a system for his daughter to build the brain, which has never been done in the history of man. We can all do it. But as long as we are free, we can teach. And God knows how these people will die, and their agents better with us. There is no reason, if you understand the fundamental cause of the cancer, that you can interact with it through the technology. Even through technology, through your emotion. Even the knowledge is deep enough that you can change the what we call evolution cancers. Evolution cancers can be interactive. You delay the evolution, or you speed up the evolution to pass that point that the body cannot cope with. Both ways can work. But it's always better to go forward than going backwards. While we are in this subject about the technology, as we said last week and the week before, Keshe Foundation has started a teaching for those of you who are beginners or want to make the perfect gases and how to make gases and how to use the plasma technology. We have started workshops in Keshe Foundation Linz, and it will be once a month at the moment till we add other parts to it. And the first workshop starts on the 11th of June. Maximum capacity is about 20 people. One of the well-known knowledge seekers in production of gases, he's there, and he will lead the workshop. And if you go on the Keshe Foundation website, it's already there. You can book yourself for the workshop. It's a Saturday from 10 to 6 on the 11th of June. We're hoping the following week after that, we'll announce it next week. It'll be for those who do the pottery, and a week after maybe for the painting and the sculpture. And one of our long-term knowledge seekers, what we call around us, will teach these things with you, and you can make your own pots and everything else for pressure or what you call sugar and what the rest of it, or other things you want to test. And Rick, I'll send you a link on the private chat. you can put that up. That's the link you need to go to book your place. If you go on the private chat where I communicate with you, I posted the link. You can go to the Keshe Foundation shop, and from there link up with the workshops and register. And if it passes the number, you'll be put to the next month workshops. Have you seen it, Rick?
Yeah, I'll put that up now.
There is a what do you call it, a fee of €350 for the day, and we supply you with the material which you need in the workshop to do, and even with the pottery, the ovens and the clays and everything else will be provided. And if you need to buy any additional material that you do at home or whatever, will be done. We are hoping to have one of our knowledge seekers teach you how to do like a crochet knitting and making dolls and things that are embedded with the ganses for different feelings and emotions. You will see this on sale on the Keshe Foundation shop in the next few weeks. That is a new product line, and the person who makes them will run a workshop, maybe 1 or 2 workshops. For those of you who want to learn how to do it, you can register for it. And we try to bring more technical teachings on this side. I have to explain again, the Keshe Foundation in the coming time will release the name of one of the leading agencies, hopefully for employment, to work with Keshe Foundation around the world. With the structures we are setting up, that this agency will be, hopefully once we complete our work with them, will be the sole way to be employed in the Keshe Foundations around the world. It doesn't matter which country you're in, to be employed, if you're a knowledge seekers or not or whatever, you have to go through this agency, and they do all the checking and everything needs to be done before you're employed by the Keshe Foundation. So if you want to start learning and going to the workshop the Keshe Foundation at Linz, this is the place. And nobody else, anywhere else says we teach what is in Linz or whatever, just ignore it. It's not done, it's done by our knowledge seekers the way they've done over the years, but this is the way we control, this is the way it should be done, the way we do it. And we try to expand the application of the technology that hopefully once you learn it, you teach it. Don't come to these classes that you just come to be in a one-day workshop. Try to share the technology and knowledge with others as you learn. Any other question?
Well, that's good to hear, Mr. Keshe. And it's interesting, the pottery, painting, and sculpture classes. These are traditionally sort of in the arts and category more than science. And so now, as well as bringing science to the soul or to science to spirituality or science to religion, you're bringing science to the arts community as well.
We encourage you to do. Sorry, carry on.
No, go ahead if there's something you'd like to.
Carry on.
I was thinking I'd like to see an extension of that into the building materials industry. For example, concrete is one of the materials that uses a very large % of the world's energy and pollution from the whole process. There's a new process, what they call bioceramic concrete or bioceramic materials to be used for building. And it seems like that ties into the pottery, which is a ceramic type material. You have these connections with the pottery people in China and so on. And it seems like a perfect match to branch out into building materials, which are stronger than concrete, last longer, don't have mold and other issues, and you can embed the GAN's technology right into the building materials, into the building itself. And it seems like a perfect structure with that combination of the bioceramic, which is a different basis than the normal concrete.
We are in the background. There's some knowledge seekers with us now. They know who they are and what we're talking about. Keshe Foundation is getting involved and is involved in this field. And we have people who have developed new technologies which are actually coming to the, what you call, Lens Exhibition Center in a very, very near future, where we actually get involved in applying the technology in this field of construction. And I'm sure very soon, we cannot hide it, it's in the couple of months left before it comes out. We don't mention where and how, but some of the knowledge seekers in the background know what's happening, and we ask you please to keep quiet till it goes public, where it is, what it is. Keshe Foundation have been appointed as an honorary member of the board of the committee, which will be building 4 new cities in one of the leading Western Europe nations. And we've been appointed as honorary members to advise in the newest space level technology in hopefully every aspect of the construction of the new city. I'll be attending the one-day conference inauguration of the beginning of this work as the representative of the Keshe Foundation. And our technology is considered to be applicable by the people who had this to be in every part of the building construction of the 4 new cities, which is a brainchild of a man and is to receive the support of the government. And in some ways, Keshe Foundation can support the part of the development of this technology. We're getting involved in that kind of things very slowly. We are not going to people. People are seeing the advantage, what it can do. They're coming to us to do it. And the tiles and ceramics and concretes and everything else is part of the work has been done a long time by the Keshe Foundation. And we know the effects they have, the strength it brings, and the changes in the environment, does the absorption of the CO2 in the house, how it changes the emotion, and how we can use it for heating facilities. We're all getting involved in a very silent way, but it's part of what you supported us in the past 2 weeks, and we are still asking for further support. We are not finished financially, we still need support for some more. And the process is that way. We are getting involved by word of mouth. As I was told very recently, somebody from NASA, a leading scientist from NASA, has recommended other scientists to look and work with the Keshe Foundation. They want to join the Keshe Foundation. These are leading scientists from American Space Agency that are recommending other scientists to study the Keshe Foundation because this is a next step in the space technology. And when I received and I heard about the email and how they want to come to collaborate with KF, it's interesting. But we're holding back. We have to be very prudent and be very careful how we do these things. And we went out to you 2 weeks ago for the financial support of the Keshe Foundation for the time being till we can pull out of and get this program completed. And we still need that support. We have not finished. And as I said, many of you support us with small loans and big loans. And that allowed us to be able to take us to the next step to complete. And hopefully once it's done, you will see a new dimension in the Keshe Foundation operation. And thanks to knowledge seekers who've been around and supporting us today. Some of you gave us the loan freely. You just want it back when the foundation completes its process. And some of you gave us 1,000 and you wanted 3,000 or 4,000 back for it. And some of you gave us 1,000, said, give me 2,000 back. We all, because it's part of us, you take it from the foundation, we pay. We have knowledge seekers who gave us 1,000, ask for 4,000 back, and we still comply. because it has to be done. It's for all of us. And we keep that kind of ethos. We keep our ways. And many of you donated 5,000, 10,000 as a loan to be returned, no condition. We respect you and thank you for it, but this needs to be done if you're going to the next level. Any other question?
Okay, we have a hand up from Mehran here. Mehran, would you like to go ahead, please?
Yes, thank you, Rick. Thank you. Good morning, Mr. Keshe, everybody. Thank you for yet another disclosure of another aspect of these years of knowledge you give to all us humans and everybody else. I thank you. And in fact, what you were talking today, we were talking in Rick's interesting program yesterday about this universal force in the universal intention force, that when we create something, we can use that. I call it universal law. I think you call it universal order. And everything is just so organized by this give and take. I had a question today, because when you were teaching, I was walking. Maybe you said it, I didn't get it. That just talk about, I see the affinity law in everything, like the original fields, two original fields, they come together. One is ready to give and the other ready to get, and they create the whole thing and plasma and that. And I feel like kind of, can we say that it's the is there any instinct, survival, wish for creation in the smaller unity and or fields? And the second question is, does emotion exist without the soul, or it absolutely has to go where there is a soul?
What by that?
Like, I feel like a duality, and this duality looks like the harmony, instinct of harmony, or is it just by chance, by accident? And second question,
I don't understand your first question. What do you mean by that?
Like everything has the same pattern from very small to very big. So these are so much like a man who looks for a woman and woman looks for a man. So they feel there's a giver and taker, and they adapt to each other and they become other things. And for me, it's just one law, one order. Just the whole thing is working its part in this whole scene of universe. And then there's a question, is there a feeling? Is there an instinct if there is no soul yet? Because I think the feels.
This is a debate. Maybe I can put your question in a different way if I understood it correctly.
Please.
There's a debate in the theology and the debate in the world of medicine when a fetus is a fetus and when is complete as a life. It's that position. When is a field and when is actually a cycle of life. And when is the soul is created for it to become a fetus. It's just no structure to it, but all the orders are sitting inside it. Or what's going to be a hand, what's going to be a foot, what's going to be a memory, what's going to be the inherited things that you don't do when you're born, and when the tooth are going to grow and everything else is still within that structure. Doesn't matter as a fetus. But when does it become a soul? When the whole interaction starts setting up its order. And this is what we said now, the change of the position, where we put the soul and the physicality matches it. The children of Mitra will be born that way. And these will be looked after, will be brought up gradually in a different way than the present race of man. They are not, as they are not man, they are the same. But through the process of a childhood, we change the process. You cannot do what most of you or some knowledge seekers start just drinking GANs and that I don't do. You have to adopt the soul to become the receiver, not the physicality. But the physicality man has been in charge for billions of years. Is it will not give up its chain of command, as I call it. So we look at the new cycle of creation of the children of Mitra, call it. Maybe to you is far-fetched, but it's the way it's going to happen. You have no choice. The choice has made, and it will be done, and it has already started, because the old way kept on killing, will not stop killing, because it doesn't know any other way to feed itself, to grow itself, to sustain the existence of the soul. The children of Mitra will carry the knowledge, the option, and gradually become a totality where they shall not kill, where they feed through the soul, the physicality, not through the physicality feeding the soul. This process, you have no choice. It has already started. But it takes time. It needs the process to be fit in. And in a coming time, we'll teach you how to do it. In a coming time, we teach you how to conceive children like this. It is not that I do this and I give them ganses, so I do this and that. No. You have to understand from conception to the maturity, the process of creation of the soul comes first. Then, in the process, because the physicality takes over, it's got a mother as an application, will try to enforce that habit of the man to do, but gradually we teach the soul to reach out. We encourage the soul to reach out, to give more, that the child takes less from what we call the physical dimension. And maybe in 2 or 3 generations, the children of the man will be of the race which will never kill. Will be of the race that when a fly comes to you, you don't need to kill it. It knows you have nothing to do, it passes you. These are not dreams. This process has already started in the race of man. And then you replicate, you enjoy, you learn. The child learns. It's like going to a nursery, the way a child shows another child how to play with this toy, but he didn't know how to play with that toy. The new generation of the man coming in touch with the other children through the dimension of the soul teaches the other child how not to. And the parents will take the children, you will hear this in an immense way, to the doctors. My child doesn't eat, but the doctor says, wait, it doesn't need it. My child doesn't drink. Is it dying? It's still playing. So, and then gradually we get used to it. In over 2 or 3 generations, we get used to, and the grandparents watch killing to eat, and the grandchildren watch they take from the environment without killing. We have to go through this transition for man to mature. And he has started. You have no choice. We brought this dimension into existence. And we thought for years this is going to happen. But it's not going to happen overnight. The child who doesn't eat anything and become a cartoon everywhere. It has to become, it has to be taught, it has to be nurtured in the society of the man, and gradually will become a part of. And then the next generation, and then the next generation, we uproot the killing within the structure of the thought of the man because he does not need to. You find much happier society. You find a society which is in balance. You find a society there is no greed, because we're through that process of taking what they need from environment. They take what they need from the place, and when they don't need it, they go. It's like what is happening in many of our cities. People leave the clothes they need on a hanger outside. If anybody needs, take it. And start in Saudi Arabia, people put a freezer outside. I have too much. If you need, take it, but don't empty the the freezer. At the beginning, it'll be a mayhem for them, but this process has started. The beauty of it is we have Mitra with us, and she'll never make a mistake. She's a mother who cares. She's a mother who understands and has seen the mayhem in the ways of the man. She's been there long enough and knows how to be done. When it's done through the culture and understanding, man will create the soul first, and from it will create a child in the physical dimension. And then he feeds it through the same process, and gradually we change. It has to be ingrained within our structure. Otherwise, it's just a fashion. Any other question?
We had a comment or a question from Hussein in YouTube, but it's in Persian. I've done a translation. It might be kind of rough, let's say. Let me just, I have to redo it here because it's...
Can you put it on the screen as it is?
Oh, okay, yes. Let me try that. Just a minute.
Understand it.
I'll put both the, if I can do it. Yeah, there we go. Okay, let me just set that up. It's got to do with some poetic influence, I think, there. Let me make it bigger so you can see. Oops. I'm almost there, just a minute. Can you see that, Mr. Keshe?
Oh my God.
I can make it bigger if you wish.
My Farsi doesn't go that far.
Well, you can see the English, the rough English beside it there.
Yeah.
And it's, like I say, it has Iranian
this
references.
This is poetry, I think. This is, I think,
okay. I see. It's written backwards, probably compared to our language, correct?
No, it's Persian.
I mean, yeah, you start at the bottom.
Right to left, so go to the right to left. Its translation is more or less the same.
But isn't it? Shouldn't the student be first, and then the master replies? I thought he was talking about you as the master, but he's saying
I don't understand. He has to tell us what it is.
Here's the student's question. What journeys have we taken to smell the scent of nasturtium flowers? What dangers have we taken to drink the desert brines, to suffer this love story we have suffered? The master says, what trips have we made to ask the name of the unknown flower? What dangers have we taken to kiss the ashes we have suffered for Iran to become a good home? I mean, it's...
I don't understand it.
Okay, I thought
It's
you might
poetry.
have... Yeah,
It's
that's
kind
why...
of like a poetry.
Yeah, it's a bit hard to bring into this dimension.
Excuse me, I think I know this person, and I think he has been banned from Farsi teaching.
I don't know. I don't know who it is. They have a reason for it.
Okay,
It's
well,
interesting. It's very interesting that how things are taking shape in many directions, and the many languages are coming into the Keshe Foundation, and it's amazing. I look at some 30 plus languages in Keshe Foundation knowledge groups, and some of them are very active, and some of them are interactive, some of them very inactive. But gradually we see groups building up. Russians are building up. The Portuguese have been heading it. The Iranian teams are the same. And the French and the Germans gradually building up in knowledge seekers, finding a home to share knowledge and to enjoy each other's knowledge. And it's very hard. This is what I always say. Unless you understand the emotion of the language, we just read the newspaper. And it's very, very hard, especially when I look at these things. I haven't read Farsi for nearly over 40 years. To me, I can join the alphabet, but even to read these things, you have to understand the present emotion of the nation, which we are not in it. As I said, when I went to Iran some 14 years ago, I am a foreigner in my own country. I speak the language, but the culture has changed. The emotion has changed. What we used to be is not. And it's the same that, as I said to Rick just before the start of teaching, you will see a large number of new Universal Council members and Universal Support Council members added to Universal Community Group, those who applied to be, and that's why we even brought cultures, what they call languages per nation, per culture. English, American English, you will see new German speaking Swiss, where we always had Caroline as a German speaking for the German community, because they understand German different in mentality than the Germans in Austria. And we see this evolution, new member of the Universal Council for English-speaking Canada or English-speaking UK, because we read, but the emotion is different, because it's different part of the world. This has a different understanding and different, what they call it, comprehension of the language. We'll see this. You will see the starting of a number of new Universal Council members coming in, and those who've been inactive will be in a way moved for the new ones who are active to bring in to do, even though we rely on the soul of these people came and for other reasons, and they serve their times, and they're not there to support, and we ask them to relinquish their place, or they're not there to ask. So we leave it open. We will see new members for Netherlands from the Dutch-speaking joining the group, and there's about a large number of them will be added. The Universal Council will be strengthened, especially now that we are going through this transition time. And I was told this morning by Lisa that the Universal Council members would like to meet with the Earth Councils in a very near future for what is to come and what needs to be planned. And that is the first time, more or less, the very first time that the two meet to bring a new dimension to the work of the Keshe Foundation. As one, as these two groups will run the Keshe Foundation in the coming time. Any other question?
Salamia would be next here. Go ahead, Salamia.
Hello, Mr. Keshe. Thank you, Rick. Hello, everybody. My question is related to your willing and our wish of knowledge seekers and Universal Council to help now Mr. Putin, because he has cancer, and maybe we can help at the soul level to recover. And the condition will be to sign the peace treaty. Not only he, but also Ukrainians and all other nations. Maybe it will be a crucial opportunity today, these days. As far as I understood, he will go in the hospital for some treatment of cancer. And we know that the reason for his malady is there are emotions. And if he will change emotions and we will send him good emotions, hopefully he will recover and we will start a new era of peace. Mitra will enlighten his soul and the soul of all dissident. What is your feelings, Mr. Keshe?
It is not a feeling. You have to realize most of, a lot of world leaders suffer from one disease or another. We have 3 or 4 world leaders who got cancer, not known publicly. We have princes and princesses who have medical condition. We have presidents. We have kings who have medical conditions that is not curable to the present knowledge. And this does not make them any changes. They still stay on the path of the way they were. Maybe by elevating their souls, they will do. In respect to Putin, Putin knows about the Keshe Foundation clearly. As I said in the talks very recently, Putin sent the peace treaty of the Keshe Foundation to Duma in 2015-16. But it was never followed by the Keshe Foundation knowledge skills who were there to do it, or appointed to responsible to respond with it and work with it. We have the Iranian president with the cancer, Ayatollah Khamenei of Iran, has had a cancer for a long time, years. And the position they have allows them to have the edge of science and latest things for them to be. Turkish president and his wife suffer from a deep cancer. The 2 or 3 African presidents are in the same boat. It's not unusual. They're all human in different stages. They have to handle their own emotion in what and how they got and where they are. It's amazing how medical conditions of the world leaders are hidden from public. But they all have a problem. It's not just Putin. Ex-German Chancellor, it was known for a long time, suffers from a very bad kind of disease of Parkinson. And when it came public, she stepped down. We have the same in the Chinese leadership. We have the same in a couple of South Asia, Central Asia countries. Their presidents and leaders have cancers. And they have to choose how they serve, not us. And they have to decide how we can elevate their souls. We can reach to them too. Doesn't mean that they will change in the way, in the path they are, in what they believe in. Some people die because of their belief. And world leaders are not different. The whole humanity and the whole world leadership needs elevation of the, what you call, the soul. And we see the same thing around. Half of these world leaders, you are not aware of their operations and the damages and what they do. A lot of you are Brazilians and you know the condition of your president. They all suffer, one way or another, somewhere, for their families. But their mission is different than their physicality. They don't see the similarity or connection to one to another. Any other questions?
Thank you very much, Mr.
Thank you very
Keshe.
much.
I think that we will send, it's good opportunity to send our love to all leaders. If they will get healthy, they will create a healthy environment and healthy conditions for peace outside if they have peace inside. Let's send from our heart to them and our soul.
Thank you very much. Rick, any other question?
Yes, we have a couple of questions that need to be addressed, like on the workshops that you mentioned happening in Austria. Will they be recorded and available online?
Nothing, no workshops will be recorded.
Okay. And on the June 6th event, will there be a media gathering, or is this to be a test only?
It's a test only at the moment. We test. The systems are more or less ready in 2 weeks' time, hopefully. The test will be done. We start a test, and then we'll see how far on the way we go on. We go out, those who want to be volunteered to be the first testers, the first what we call pilots, and the rest of it. We just gradually work to it, and we'll come to it to test it with or without. At the moment, we try to keep everything in order to complete. You got to understand there's a huge pressure on the Keshe Foundation side, where we are forever evolving and developing. And even in the process of building the new reactors for a space, we are still developing new technologies in it. And everything sets back things for a few days, for a few hours, for a couple of weeks, because it will not stop. This is the evolution of understanding the science and technology. We are getting ready for the 6th of June. And 4 units has been envisaged, and 4 reactors are, full flight system are in the process of what they call it, this assembly and process of manufacture. Any other question?
We got a few more in the Q&A that I'd like to address, if we can still continue here. From Hassan, Mr. Keshe, why can't we remember what and where our soul was before coming to be created in this physicality and experience life on Earth?
Your soul is in 2 parts, part from your mother's side and part from your father's side. So your amalgamation of the memories of the 2. You are not a soul as a soul on its own. You are the beginning of that structure. You're the beginning of the making of a star, the seedling of that process. So when you create a soul within the womb of the mother, needs to be. In a human race, you bring the, what do you call it, the sperm and egg together. Now you bring the 2 souls. The amalgamation of that creates the new soul, which is your soul. And then you inherit more than what they call RNA and DNA of the man. You will remember the process of the creation within the soul of the man. It's a different dimension. You will hear children of Mitra will speak about things that us as parents say our child is crazy. But no, the way you remember inherently through your genes, this color fruit you don't touch, she knows, he knows what is the consequence of whatever is there through the souls. You're walking and you just pulls your hand back and you jump on it. Says, Mom, look, there's a snake there, you didn't see it. But he saw the soul of the snake. Your physicality was blind to it. We'll have a huge cultural problem with the children of Mitra, the new generation of the man, that many of our doctors will call them schizophrenic or there's something wrong with them, but in fact it's us not understanding man has evolved. There's the evolution in the soul of the man and the physicality is to follow. And even the process of conceiving will change. Any other question?
Dan asked a question. We as a physicality or soul are made of a collection of cells, viruses, bacteria, and their souls. How much of this body or soul of the formed community are we?
All of it. We are part of it. We made it and it's made us. So we're all in it.
So when we say we, we're referring to the viruses,
human
bacteria,
race,
and everything that we carry along with us, basically.
Yep. You would not have been here if some viruses are not in your body. You see, we have there is something which is in the background of the Keshe Foundation work. Very soon we will release. Many of you suffer from migraine. Many of you suffer from hay fever. Many of you suffer from menstrual pain, especially women that cannot even walk. Many of you suffer from seasonal fatigues. Many of you suffer from depression of time. In Keshe Foundation, we have the solution for all of it. Tomorrow we can market a product that women with menstrual pain within 1 minute will not have a pain. And you know how many women suffer every month with this? 2 or 3 days. And we see this process of releasing technologies in the new era for the Keshe Foundation. And we allow new technologies to come in to eradicate the pains and whatever suffering was before with the new technology. But one question which I always ask is, would the new generation of man will suffer with any of these? Or all this was something we had before and it doesn't there. So what it is will stay in the memory of us, in the memory of our DNA and RNA and viruses and infections. But is there something we had, we know, and we don't need, but it makes us, is part of us, is part of the structure of us for the future. And this will carry on. This will not stop. And it's us and we are them. Without them, we don't exist. And without us, they can't show their work. We're part of each other. Pain, suffering, and this has been part of the life of the man, where now with new technology can be changed. How come many of you suffer from hay fever? I did, and I still sometimes do, but I know exactly. One drop and it's gone. But how does it come about? Why do I react this way? Years ago, if you remember, because according this time of the year, I'm always sniffing and suffering. But now with the technology, if it comes, takes in 1 minute and it's done. But it's part of me why I react to this situation. And what would bring in the next generation? Would the children of the soul of the man will have that? Why do we create so much conditions with our health without us knowing? It'll be very interesting to see if the next generation of the man who are created through the soul need to wear winter clothes or summer clothes, because through the soul, just their body, they can walk in the snow as is summer on the side. Because now you work different. Because you have to do this in the other positions when the soul travels. The temperatures are beyond what we know we can hold our ganses and our body temperature. And some of it will come in shape of either forms of viruses or energy packs, which we call viruses. We have to open our eyes. We are heading for a massive changes, and it's massive. And we are learning and we are teaching, and we are developing that stage step up.
A following question from Hassan in that regard: how to recognize other members of the universal community if they're not looking like us, and how to start interacting with them, like at the time you talked in a Knowledge Seekers workshop with the hand signs to Obama and others. Thank you.
That was specific, and it was for a deliberate communication because they understand. And in so many ways, once you elevate to the next level, you communicate with the soul of the man. They manifest themselves if they want. And you feel it if you have that position, that you recognize the need of the soul, the need of the things, and how your happy will be, and how it brings you the position of understanding. You don't need to communicate. You do that with your children. How many times you pick the phone up and you call your child and says, I feel you're not happy, and oh no, Papa, everything's okay. So, and then they tell you what the problem is. It's much deeper and you feel it. I have that with my son. My two oldest sons. Most of the time, I don't need for them to call. I call them and says, Papa, what's wrong? So, Papa, how do you know that you call? Because we feel their soul. We don't wait for that telephone call. The call is already made at the soul level because we have that kind of connection. And this needs to be expanded to more and more, and understanding of them. And we can block, and we can open, or that we can allow it to extend to everything. But if you walk on the street and every man has a pain and a suffering and something, can you imagine what you're going to face? give a handkerchief to that one, give a water to that one. You never get to your destination. So we have created that filter even through our soul. We see the souls, but we can help the soul to go. Otherwise, we never get and even never do anything. But gradually, as we evolve, these things will be resolved. We need to create a new generation of man, and that process is already started. As I always said, I'm serving to have beauty and knowledge. And knowledge of the universe and beauty is the beauty of the Creator. And so with that. We have no choice if we're going to leave this habit of the present time.
Okay, question from Peace Plasma on YouTube. How does working with plasma raise your spiritual vibration and make it easier to work with your spirit guides?
Oh my God, we are not that kind of organization. We have to understand. We have to understand how the fields within the body of the man works.
Well, what are people talk about spirit guides or spiritual guides, angelic guides and other guides, not in the physical realm, but as a some kind of vision, image they have, or sometimes they might have a physical manifestation or whatever. But it's generally not physical. They're spirit guides or of the spirit world. What are those? How are they? Are they simply aspects of ourselves, of our own essential self, that essentially the messages are from our own soul to our soul of our physicality to, and the soul of the physicality just interprets it in a physicality way? How do you read spirit guides? Is that something that is an illusion? I mean, in fact, you talked about everything being illusion as the first part of your talk anyway. But what part of the illusion is the spirit guides, I suppose, might be a question. Hello, Mr. Keshe. I'm not hearing you there. I think your microphone up. I think it's gone, actually.
No, I touched it by mistake.
Oh, there you are.
Yeah,
Okay.
I touched it by mistake. I said, with a new understanding of the science of the creation, we don't need no prophets, we don't need no guides. We don't need to be soul guides, or we are there. We have to understand it and interpret it and see what it meant, what it is. Maybe we have, some of us, not maybe 100%, has evolved to a position of being able to understand the feeling, the emotion, and the work of the soul of the man. You understand? So we don't need guides. Ask yourself, what did you ask? What was your... You see, there is a very big problem, and many of us face it now, especially knowledge seekers who are becoming more and more aware of these things. You wish something or you want something, and you get it. Because instead of you physically working to do it, now you have learned to get your soul engaged. If it's good for me, what can I have? And then we say we have a spiritual guide or somebody guide us or something in inside. No, we have to learn to trust in ourselves. In the body of the man, even today, we have a mechanism that if you wish a part of your body to be separated, you can do it. You can literally hack your own hand, your feet. We had to have it. In the olden days, in the time of when we were what I call more or less reptiles, like the animals we have today, if the tail gets trapped between the door, they'll let the tail go and they walk off and they build an animal. This is within us too. We have this power to do. Man used to do it. When we were mammals hiding in the holes, if we got trapped with the arm, we used to chop it off by the pressure of the need not to be dead and not to be damaged or eaten or whatever. We have these capabilities with us. It's ingrained in our physical dimension. So it's the same with the soul. It's the same with the emotion. We have powers to, but we keep on saying somebody else done, somebody else do. I have a guide, guides me. Your guides has become what we call your conscious. You know what needs to be done. You have learned how to communicate with the soul and soul of physicality. And these are the things which we have gradually to, now we know the knowledge to understand the knowledge. And then how it is used. What it means. And we should be able to decipher it. There is no whatever you talked about. If you understand the science of the interaction of the soul of the creator of the man, or the controller of the man and the man itself. Instead of you going and seeing what will be the condition if I go to the moon, the soul comes back and says, this is not because you already, the soul is in touch with the soul of whatever, for you to have the information. You have no GPS, you have no weather forecast. Is it trust in one's knowledge of the soul and its creation? Any other question? Or shall we call it a day?
I was just going to add that you always said to you like to cut out the middleman and go directly to the source, basically.
In a way. Or you make your middleman of yourself or yourself. This is what these agents are.
Who needs a spirit guide when you can go to number one, you know?
Yeah, but some people make a spirit guide of their own that they have something to do. Okay, shall we call it a day?
Okay, sure, yes.
Been there long enough. Please, we will keep you fully informed in our progress in what we asked you. We still need the help. It has not finished. We passed one stage of it. And be there to support us because it's the future of the Keshe Foundation. And at the same time, remember that these classes, if you are getting into the process of gas production or whatever, how to do things the correct way, and you want to add to the knowledge, these workshops are coming in. We're trying to teach you to use the technology in everyday use. In the near future, we do the cooking classes with the ganses. We do the what we call other things with the ganses. We put these classes that you start learning how to apply for everyday use. Thank you very much for today. Thanks, Rick. And thank you for everything else.
Thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you once again for another Knowledge Seekers Workshop, number 431 here today on Thursday, May 5th, 2022. Let me see, for other announcements, we have the next public teaching workshop will be the Testimonials meeting coming up on Monday, May 9th. And people are welcome to bring their experiences of the plasma technology into that meeting and let the world know how your life was improved by use of the plasma products. Then after that, on Tuesday, May 10th, we have the One Nation, One Planet, One Race for World Peace and Justice. And again, the members of the Universal Council will be present. And as Mr. Keshe mentioned, there may be many more members of the Universal Council and perhaps some new members also coming into that program. So we look forward to that. There may be some other things I'm forgetting to announce for today, but we'll have posts in the usual Telegram groups and other media. Okay, thank you, Mr. Keshe. Thank you to everybody for attending today and for your questions and comments. And we'll go out with the Flight Enhancement Spaceship Unit music version, so we can do a little clapping and dancing to celebrate the progress of plasma technology. All right, bye for now, everyone.